Michael, I've got a question for you.
I've probably got an answer for you.
Are conservatives funny? Are liberals nervous that the right wing is getting better at comedy?
Well, I'd say they're pretty good at accidental comedy.
Haha, good one, Michael. But what we are going to be discussing today in this video on Dankpol is whether conservatives are funny, and basically we're going to be going through satirical Christian news website, the Babylon Bee, to try and figure that out. So essentially, Michael, the reason why we're doing this video is I saw a segment from a Substack article from Matt Taibbi, who was basically lamenting the death of comedy in America, and basically saying it doesn't really exist anymore in liberal circles. And I'm going to read an extract from that article here to set up this video, which is why we're already seeing something I never thought I would in my lifetime: the humour business drifting into the arms of conservatives. Humour is about saying the unsayable, and most other comics who insist on doing it are either denounced as reactionaries, like Charlie Hebdo, or Joe Rogan, or even Dave Chappelle, or else they were openly conservative to begin with. The Babylon Bee is marketed as something from one of my childhood nightmares, your trusted source for Christian news satire. And the fact that it is now exponentially more likely to be funny than Stephen Colbert feels like a sign of the end times. Wow, so there you go, the Babylon Bee. Funnier than Stephen Colbert. Well, we're going to see about that today, Michael. And I think it's a good time to do this video as well, considering we are recording on April Fools. So that makes sense. So, Michael, can you tell me what your first impressions are of the Babylon Bee? Because you have told me that you knew about the Babylon Bee from very early on, didn't you?
Yes, I was at ground zero because I obviously like Reddit, and I was on the Christianity subreddit, and the guy who started Babylon Bee, called Adam Ford, has actually been around for a while. He used to make conservative web comics, and eventually he decided he was going to start up this, as you said, Christian satirical news site. And I was checking it out, and my first impression of it was simply, independent of the politics, it's not funny, and I would say that the Babylon Bee is a quintessential example of bad satire. And to prove that point, I've got an article from May 30th, 2016, and for context, the site was started in March 2016. And the headline of the article is, "Beyonce is a good role model, says woman presumably confusing Beyonce with some other artists." And the first thing you'll notice is that it encapsulates what I would consider to be a quintessential example of how to do lazy satire, which is that basically what it's doing is attributing a viewpoint which clearly the author of the article does not hold to, and then just saying, says person who is, stupid. And basically it's something which the Babylon Bee has done at other moments. This is the first time I saw it, but it basically just shows how kind of lazy and unoriginal their comedy is.
Well, that's harsh, Michael, I have to say. But no, basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few dozen articles from the Babylon Bee, and at the end of it, let's see if you still hold that opinion. So what I've done, Michael, is I've divided up several articles into several categories, basically. So first up, we've got the category which I like to call Democrats being hypocrites. Now, I think, Michael, this is their best style of comedy in the Babylon Bee. So we're starting off with that. We're starting off strong, as you can see with the first article. Progress. Biden administration to apply Black Lives Matter decals to all attack drones. Now, I think this is fairly simple satire, but it effectively encapsulates the Democrats' hypocrisy in being Black Lives Matter and then killing Arabs in the Middle East.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. It is obviously a valid point, but then at the same time, you could say this would be low-level satire from like a leftist comedian.
Yes, I agree. Moving on to the next article, in another hilarious gaffe, Biden shouts, "Help me, I don't want to do this anymore." Now, I think that's the hilarious gaffe bit is good, but the "help me, I don't want to do this anymore" is it's not that accurate, because the one thing Biden's always wanted is to be president. But I like how the media in the United States does make out Biden to have these gaffe movements when it's actually something quite a bit worse than just a simple gaffe. So that's good.
Yeah, I think maybe the "I don't want to do this" comes from the idea that he has like handlers or something, which is, I guess, like a.
Yeah. Onto a couple more Biden articles. Biden cuts hole in mask so we can still sniff people's hair. Again, that's fairly decent. And another one based on him sniffing. Biden campaign says he is so close to a VP pick he can smell her. And of course, I do like this one because, Biden had to pick a female vice president, but then, of course, you counteract that with his history of sexual assaults and, of course, sniffing women's hair in particular. So, that's good again.
Yeah, it's clever. That one's actually got quite a lot going on.
Yes, I agree. One of my personal favourites on the Babylon Bee is this one. The bromance continues. Biden lets Obama pilot drone into Syria for old time's sake. Yeah, and again, of course, Obama was very much known for his drone strikes, and yeah, the Babylon Bee rightfully mocks it, the bromance between the two, considering how bad Obama was at that. So yeah, again, that's a thumbs up from me.
No, yeah, that one's better than the Black Lives Matter decal.
Yeah, for sure. And on to the final one, Kamala Harris to hold discussion with Harvey Weinstein on empowering women and girls. Now, this came out after it emerged that Kamala Harris was going to be doing this, but with Bill Clinton instead. And of course, Harvey Weinstein is a bit worse than Bill Clinton, but yeah, the same point arises. Like, it's just the hypocrisy of it all. It's just stunning. So yeah, another thumbs up from me on this article.
No, yeah, I think making fun of Clinton, he's got his vices, so to say the least.
Yeah,
so
it's really making fun of the audacity of the Democrats, though.
Yeah,
that's to do that with Bill Clinton. So yeah, that was the end of that section, and I think that category is probably, like I said, the Babylon Bee's strongest element. But now we're going to move on to a category which I like to call Babylon Bee just being wrong, I guess. And the first subcategory is about racism. So here we have this article. Sesame Street introduces Todd, a white male Muppet who is blamed for everything. Now, this came after, as you can see in the picture, 2 black characters were added to Sesame Street. And obviously the Babylon Bee wasn't very happy about that. So yeah, they've introduced a white male Muppet being introduced as somebody everybody can blame. And again, this goes to a familiar conservative trope, which is basically white people are the real victims because they just get blamed for everything.
No, yeah, I like how the immediate assumption is, visibility for black people in children's TV shows. This must be an attack on white people.
Yeah, exactly. On to the next one. Biden unveils skin colour chart to determine who gets federal aid. Again, another case of, as you can see in the picture, if you're white, you actually get less money than if you are black or brown. And that is, again, just same old conservative trope there.
And I think what's funny is that they kind of lifted that joke from, I think Family Guy and other things have done jokes about how systemic injustice works against, darker skinned people. So they've literally just taken the joke and gone no, you.
Yeah, exactly. So on to the next article. Filibuster conveniently revealed to be racist the moment it stands in way of Dems' agenda. And here's the thing, again, what I said before, this is a section where we just go through what the Babylon Bee says, which is just wrong. The filibuster was indeed a racist practice because it was used to stop civil rights progress in the 1950s and the 1960s. So again, they're trying to make fun of everything they say is racist, but literally that was the case.
Yeah, maybe it would be more accurate if it was conveniently revealed to be racist the century that it stands, because, this has been, like you say, going on for ages.
Yeah, the next article, basically people who are gay or whatever, minority, they're not really oppressed. Colorado Baker faces long line of people outside waiting to be oppressed. It doesn't really happen, oppression. People are just looking to be offended, oppressed, etc. You know what people are like these days.
Yeah, well, this is obviously the gay wedding cake thing, I assume, a reference to. And that's obviously been a massive conservative talking point. And obviously, it's just not a particularly clever or original take.
Yeah, exactly. Next article. In new Sesame Street episode, Elmo joins Antifa and tortures local businesses. Now, I saved this one till the end of this category of racism because I think it's especially bad. Because, again, what triggered this was 2 black characters came on Sesame Street. They introduced 2 black characters. And this, again, it's a massive exaggeration to go from that to, yes, now we have black characters on the show. That means Elmo is going to be burning down houses and he's going to join Antifa and all of that. Yeah, just quite racist if you think about it, Michael.
Yeah, and I bet these people would also say that the Democrats are the ones who make everything about race and racial politics. Yeah,
exactly. And moving on to the last article to do with race. I like this one because, as you can see, it's titled "Asians Asked to Be Less Successful to Stop Ruining Racial Narrative." And the article is basically about how, Asians are doing well, and this is very uncomfortable for white progressives who, want to make it seem like white people are racist, etc. And I do believe, from looking at the dates, this was, of course, published on March the 16th, this was the same date that guy in Atlanta went into those massage parlors and killed those 8 Asian people. And this article was posted on the same day. So yeah, just absolutely perfect timing from the Babylon Bee. Wouldn't you agree, Michael?
Well, yeah, but you've got to bear in mind that some Asian people are very rich. So sexual violence against Asian women.
So we'll move on to the next subcategory of the Babylon Bee being wrong now. And this is one is about COVID. So we've only got 3 articles for this section, but I think it demonstrates it quite well. You don't really need any more. Hero, man stranded on desert island, still obediently wearing his mask. And of course, the implication here is, wearing your mask is pointless, and people do it too often because they don't want to get sick. So of course, that's something to be made fun of, right, Michael?
Yeah, also, I think one of the things that Republicans seem to have latched onto is this idea that Democrats like masks for masks' sake, ignoring the actual efficacy of it.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, CDC director gives press conference while holding the end is near sign. So this was from a couple of days ago when the CDC director appeared on TV and was basically like, hey guys, we could be entering a third wave here. We need to be careful. We're not out of the woods yet. And looking at the statistics, it is indeed likely that America has a third wave of coronavirus, and the Babylon Bee treats this as the CDC is basically saying the end is near. And it's just like, you're mocking this woman for blatantly saying, hey, a lot of people are going to die, as has happened twice in the last year, if we don't contain coronavirus, if we don't put in measures. And yeah, she's apparently being judged to have overreacted because of this. Crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I also like how this is an evangelical Christian site making fun of a scientist by comparing her to evangelical Christians who say things like, the end is near.
Yes, exactly. And one final article on COVID. This is from April the 3rd, 2020. So yeah, just about a year ago when COVID was first starting to hit America. Everyone jumps off bridge after new government order telling everyone to jump off bridge. So this, of course, was in response to basically the United States having to shut down like every other country because of coronavirus. And the Babylon Bee said, this is completely stupid. You're just basically telling us to sacrifice everything. And why should we be so afraid of coronavirus? That's the general point. And of course, the irony is that if America did not shut down and, the economy didn't shut down, etc., all of those things, then a lot of people wouldn't need to be jumping off bridges to be killed because they would be killed by COVID, as what eventually happened in America. It's why it's got one of the highest death tolls in the world. That's from a year ago, an article, just, again, the Babylon Bee just being wrong as much as you can be.
And also, this is another classic conservative trope of just assuming that all government action is bad, regardless of its actual efficacy. Telling people to flatten the curve to, like you say, stop deaths is just as bad as telling people to jump off a bridge to their deaths.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll move on to the next category, Michael, which is the Babylon Bee being cooks for billionaires. That's the best way to put it, as you can see with this article. Greetings, people of Earth, says Elon Musk, welcoming primitive Mars rover to his advanced Martian colony. Of course, this is when, NASA sent a rover to Mars. And yeah, as you can see, Elon Musk, he's already there. He's already done it. Completely forgetting the fact that Elon Musk has had several high-profile, embarrassing incidents with SpaceX. And of course, Elon Musk has really not a lot to do with SpaceX either. But, good satire, Michael. You're making fun of... I don't know. No, you're not making fun of anyone, actually. You're just bigging up Elon Musk. You love to see it.
Yeah, yes. That's, oh God. I mean, I have nothing to say because it's just the exact opposite to what good satire should be. The exact opposite.
Yes. Again, next article. Elon Musk rescues Texans with giant flamethrower mech. So again, this was back in February when, of course, Texas had that cold snap, a terrible winter for them. It caused all sorts of issues. And yeah, basically, Elon Musk comes in to save the day. And you love to see it, don't you, Michael? Again, satire, poking fun at... no one. It's just, again, saying how good Elon Musk is. That's what satire really is, isn't it?
Yeah, really good satire would be Elon Musk calls the snow in Texas a pedophile.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, again, they're just being absolute cooked by billionaires, Michael. And as we can see with the next article, Bernie Sanders' Acme rocket explodes in his face in yet another failed attempt to catch a billionaire. So basically, what this article does is describe basically a Roadrunner cartoon, and the billionaire is the Roadrunner, Bernie Sanders is the coyote, and he can't catch them because, I don't know, he's too stupid or the billionaire is just too clever. Just poking fun at the politicians to failing to hold the billionaires to any sort of account. And yeah, that's great satire again. Bigging up billionaires.
Yeah, he should have pointed his rocket at the Cayman Islands, hit them where it hurts.
Yeah, that would have been good. Another article, which I absolutely love. Bernie Sanders comes out against $15 minimum wage after finding it requires at least an hour's work.
Okay. I will admit, like there's a nugget of like something quite funny here, but it just doesn't really work against Bernie Sanders.
Well,
you know?
no. Here's the thing: it's not. Well, it does call Bernie Sanders lazy, but as you can see from the article, it's basically saying that he didn't think people should be working at all.
Okay.
Sanders exclaimed to the press, "I thought we were forcing corporations to just give everyone $15 an hour. I didn't know we were asking people to work for it. That's horrible.
Okay.
Can't we just have billionaires do all the work and then give everyone else money?" Sanders suggested.
No.
Yeah. Basically, our billionaires, God, they're giving jobs to people. God, these people who want $15 an hour, like those Amazon workers, they're just asking for too much from Jeff Bezos. I mean, come on. Where's the line?
We need to stop extracting Jeff Bezos' surplus labor.
I know,
because
right?
everyone knows Jeff Bezos. He actually does work worth $100 billion a year, and those greedy Amazon workers keep extracting the value of this labor.
I know, it's just completely ridiculous. And you thought, I mean, they did call Sanders lazy, but when I read the article, I was like, oh my God, it's even worse than I thought. That it's not just Bernie Sanders is lazy, lol. It's actually these workers are getting too much or demanding too much for their work. And of course, Michael, that is a pretty bad article. But here's the irony about that article defending billionaires and trashing workers who just want $15 an hour. The Babylon Bee has actually come out with some anti-capitalist arguments in their articles. Do you want to hear one of those arguments?
Yes.
This is from a Tucker Carlson show where he brilliantly explains and dissects a Babylon Bee article about women working 80 hours a week. Let's watch.
So humor, above all, requires the truth. So, of course, most real comedy has been banned for the last year. It's one of the many casualties of totalitarian liberalism. One of the few places you can still find humor is a website called the Babylon Bee. And here was their contribution yesterday. Quote, "Woman escapes the patriarchy to find freedom in grueling 80-hour work week." Local business analyst Abby Stoughton, the piece begins, has finally escaped the shackles of the patriarchy to find freedom and worth in an 80-hour work week, working for an overbearing boss. "This is true happiness," said Staunton as she sat through her fourth meeting of the day discussing first quarter sales figures for Melcorp Corporation. "My feminist ancestors fought so I could answer to 12 different middle managers in a thankless job before going home to an empty apartment and drinking wine. I have reached the pinnacle of womanhood." Yes, the piece explains Staunton's job is awful and pointless, and sometimes she is sexually harassed, but, quote, "At least she doesn't have to live a boring life of housemaking with a husband and kids. I don't want all that domestic suburban bliss because that's not feminist," she said aloud as she daydreamed about being barefoot in the kitchen with a rich lumberjack husband. "Now, if you excuse me, I have to redo the cover sheets on these TPS reports before my boss threatens to fire me again." End quote. Now, it's funny because it's completely real. The most important thing young women can do with their lives, says Sheryl Sandberg and so many other CEOs, is work for a soulless public company maximizing shareholder value. "Give us everything," they promise, "and you'll be free."
So, Michael, do you agree with that article then?
Well, I mean, kind of. Yeah, I definitely agree that working incredibly long hours is not fulfilling, and I guess they should have mentioned Marxist alienation, all that kind of stuff.
Well, Marxist alienation. That sounds like Marxism. That sounds like this article was in fact critiquing capitalism. And I just heard from the Babylon Bee that billionaires are good. So I'm confused, Michael. Really, is capitalism bad or not?
Well, actually, what you got to remember is that the Babylon Bee is a radical feminist publication that hates men, so it thinks that only men should be working 80-hour weeks for their big corporations.
Okay, yeah.
The only problem is that these people are women.
Yeah. So capitalism is fine if it subjects men to it, but if it subjects women to it, well, then of course that's a big issue. Then.
Yeah. What simps?
I know, right? What simps? Yeah, I think you can see it with this article as well. A mother who gave life to 3 beautiful children doesn't wonder whether she's as good as a man. Kind of the same thing, really, basically. It's bigging up stay-at-home moms for having, wonderful lives, very fulfilling, rich lives with their kids. And, basically, women who try and do work are stupid, basically. And they're stupid because capitalism is awful, not putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe if we made working better and the excesses of capitalism weren't as bad, then maybe, hey, things would get better for those women. But nope, we can't have that, apparently. So yeah, anything else to say on that, Michael?
Yeah, I just don't know how you can be like a man and look at this and not feel incredibly insulted that it's basically saying like, yeah, men shouldn't be there, being great fathers for their children and things. They should be out doing the work. It's a woman's job to take care of kids. It's just like, And that's the thing, like, they're kind of, I guess their whole shtick is acting as if these people want to force women to go out to work, when obviously it's more about people being free to move in and out of gender roles as makes them happy.
Yeah.
But no, obviously the women need to stay home and to take care of the kids. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, talking of women, Michael, the Babylon Bee has got some great articles if you want to make fun of them, actually, so it's balanced and all. Like this one. Wife promises to circle back to question about how much money she spent at Hobby Lobby.
Oh.
Women be shopping, don't they?
It's just like, I mean, I guess it's been pointed out, like, bigoted jokes are the laziest jokes, so I'm excited about these anti-women jokes.
Well, here's another bonus article. Man assures wife she is much better than he is at doing whatever it is he doesn't want to do. You'd love to see it. And how about this one? Wife can't recall where she put her car keys, but remembers dumb thing you said 12 years ago.
Oh, those wives, eh?
Those
I tell you what, Luke,
wives.
before I met my wife, I always felt incomplete. Now I'm finished.
That's a good one, Michael. And how about this? Inequality. Women pay 20,000% more on average for their Starbucks drinks than men. Women be shopping at Starbucks and...
It's just like so great. It reminds me of the whole, like, I know it's about gender, but it just reminds me of the whole, like, see white guys drive a car like this. It's like,
yeah.
see women go to Starbucks.
And finally, the Pierre de Resistance of these articles. Billions in damages as military allows women to park the tanks.
Women parking.
Because they're so bad.
You don't know. It's just like, I mean, I guess in some sense these have been the funniest ones in that they're just like so bad. It literally, it feels like listening to Rodney Dangerfield, like, talking about his wife.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But now, Michael, it's time to move on to another category. And this category is elections. And here's the thing, of course, I went through a lot of Babylon Bee articles that have been out in the last few months, and there was a lot on the 2020 election, as you can imagine. And so we're going to go through those right now, Michael. Are you ready?
Yes!
So we'll start off with a nice, easy one. Biden car parade, just lone Prius driving down abandoned highway. And I like this one because it mentions Prius, and that's a joke from 2006, so you know it's great. The next article I like as well. In apparent glitch, voting machines hunt down and murder Trump supporters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so basically, you remember back in November there was a lot of talk about voting machines and, things not being fair. And as you can see in the first line, it says, Detroit, Michigan, in an apparent glitch. So, things were happening in Detroit, Michigan, which is one of the places where conservatives highlighted as being corrupt, because there was quite a few black people that lived in Detroit and voted there, Michael. So, yeah. Now, again, an important thing to remember, Michael, as we look at our next article, Fox News calls Arizona for Biden after one vote counted, is that the Babylon Bee holds truth to power. They hold truth to power. And, of course, Biden didn't eventually win Arizona, so, Fox News look ridiculous here. Actually, he did win Arizona, didn't he, Joe Biden? He did. So this next article, which also says Fox News preemptively calls Arizona for Biden in 2024, also doesn't seem that good when you consider that he did actually win it in 2020. Isn't that right?
Yeah, but you've got to remember they're holding truth actually to Fox News, the bastion of the liberal establishment media.
Yes, Michael. Here's another article on what went down in the 2020 election. Wisconsin boasts 3,000% voter turnout. So again, it's making fun of the fact that there were some voting irregularities in Wisconsin, even though, of course, there wasn't any. And this is a thing, like, they were wrong about a lot of things, but they seem to have bought hook, line and sinker this narrative that actually the election was stolen, which is quite interesting, because you're going to see an article coming up in a sec, which is a great juxtaposition to all these, actually there was voter fraud articles that came out, like this one here. Miracle, ballot counter turns 5 Biden voters into 5,000. Maybe, I don't know, this is a Jesus thing, I'm not sure. But and it's just quite lazy as well. But as you can see, look at the first line, Detroit, Michigan. Yes, you'd love to see it. A similar theme in the next article. Philly bans all indoor gatherings unless you're still counting Biden votes. This was on November 21st. This is well after the election had been decided, so they were still pretty sore about things. And you judge those articles with this article here. Rioters demand a recount. Basically, the joke is that left-wing rioters wanted a recount because they wanted Trump to win so they could smash everything up, basically. But of course, as you can see with those previous articles, look who was actually demanding a recount, or not demanding a recount, saying, hey, maybe there should be a recount because of all this voter fraud going on in Detroit and Philadelphia and Wisconsin. It doesn't seem like the left-wing rioters were that angry about the count, does it, Michael?
No, yeah. I mean, it's weird, though, because the left just love to riot. After all, I mean, you look at the things the left have rioted about, things like systemic racism and things. I mean, these aren't actual issues, so it's obvious the left just must want to riot.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I love you said that, because this next article is probably my favourite from the Babylon Bee. 74 million Trump supporters take to the streets to drive to work and go about their lives as normal. And this was on the day, of course, it was announced that Biden was president. And let's get into the article here. US. Angered at President Donald Trump's apparent loss, the president's psychotic supporters took to the streets to drive to work and go about their lives as normal. Crowds of Trump supporters were seen kind of just doing the same thing they always do, not burning down any buildings or assaulting anyone or tipping over statues. The deranged, dangerous followers of the fascist ruler got in their cars and flooded the streets, where they were just driving to work because life goes on. Yes, I think, Michael, you can without doubt say this is what happened after Trump lost the election. I don't recall any event of Trump supporters being really mad. I think back to, say, January 2021. I cannot recall any instance of Trump supporters getting quite mad about the election result at all. I think the Babylon Bee is right. I think they just simply got out of their cars and marched into their offices and onto construction sites, the ones where they work, because they have jobs. And their whole lives don't hinge on who is or isn't in the White House. Yeah, exactly. I think that is totally accurate. And there's nothing that happened a few months later which made this article age perhaps worse than any other article in the history of articles. Hey, Michael?
Well, now, Luke, be fair, okay? There was no indication prior to this that Trump supporters were overzealous fanatics. So, be reasonable here. I mean, how could the Babylon Bee have predicted the sudden wild U-turn where Trump supporters decided to suddenly start being crazy and engage in fascistic denouncements?
I remember, and they did riot in the Capitol. Yeah, they did. It appears they did care very much about who was president, more than any other group of supporters in modern American history. Yeah, they tried to kill the vice president, I do believe. Oh yeah, I remember that now. And of course, the Babylon Bee, Michael, as you would expect, had some hilarious takes on the Capitol riots, like this one. Ignorant Republicans riot and don't even get any big screen TVs. Oh no! It appears that they are once again trying to attack the Democrats. For here's the thing. Of course, there was a load of outrage about the riots and the Capitol building being taken over and the insurrection, all of that stuff. I looked on the Babylon Bee. I could not find any articles denouncing those people. It was all just making fun of the hypothetical liberals, like you can see in the next article here. To protest siege on Capitol, Kamala Harris helps Black Lives Matter burn down a Target. So again, what we're doing is we're not making fun or having a go at the rioters who actually just stormed the Capitol. We're making fun of a hypothetical Black Lives Matter march burning down a Target, which of course it didn't happen. Yeah, once again, just great satire, Michael. Picking your targets just beautifully as always, and you're not in any way influenced by your political position, are you?
Well, to be fair, I like to imagine that the Babylon Bee would be equally afraid of imaginary threats, whether they were right-wing or left-wing. They've got a non-partisan opposition to opponents they've made up in their head.
On to the next article. Let's all remain peaceful, says Trump in clear incitement of violence. So, of course, this was a few days after what happened at the Capitol, and basically this article is making fun of the fact that Trump was saying, calling for peace, and then, the media still attacked him anyway. I mean, it's not like Trump, before he said this, wasn't calling for violence and wasn't saying that everyone in Congress was traitors, So one speech just blows that all away, right? That's what it does.
Well, you've got to remember, one explicit statement undoes years of furious subtext.
Yeah.
That's because the way that bad people come to power and come to wield influence is by always explicitly saying exactly what they mean.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, what happened in the Capitol building wasn't that bad. I mean, only a few people died, right? And I'm sure if the people that stormed the Capitol got their hands on, say, AOC, she would have been fine, she wouldn't have been killed, whatever. Which is why I love this headline, which says, "I've been shot," screams AOC as Ted Cruz greets her with a set of friendly finger guns. You see, AOC was just overreacting because, she's not that well-known a politician. She's not hated by every one of Trump's supporters. So if they got in there with their guns, I'm sure she would have been safe and fine, and she was just completely overreacting, right?
Well, you've got to remember that friendly Ted Cruz was there. Ted Cruz, who's never done anything to incite violence.
Yeah, exactly. Another one of these articles, AOC claims two men in MAGA hats threw economic textbooks at her. And of course, it is funny because of how sad it is. Again, yeah, that's all they would have done, right? They just would have thrown economic tech. They wouldn't have tried to shoot her or take her hostage or whatever. And yeah, these these MAGA supporters definitely read up on all their economics, I'm sure, as well. So yeah, I think that's another case of great satire, wouldn't you say, Michael?
Yeah, doesn't AOC have a bachelor's in economics?
Yeah, but she's stupid, because she's young and she's a socialist and
she was a bartender.
Yeah, she was a bartender and she's not white either. So all this contributes to this, of course. And lastly, just one final article on the Babylon Bee on this issue of rioting. Vendors selling bricks, Molotovs outside Derek Chauvin trial. And of course, what this article is mocking the fact that the protesters who are protesting Derek Chauvin, they're the violent ones, not the guy who kneeled on George Floyd's neck for 7 minutes. They picked a really good target here because, of course, it's not the police who should be the focus of your satire. It's the people who are angry that George Floyd got killed by the police. They should be the target of your satire, right?
I mean, I tell you what, Luke, the big problem the Babylon Bee would have is with that guy's shirt, because the fist is punching up. And any good Babylon Bee writer will tell you the best form of comedy punches down. It's good, right? It's clever.
Good. Yeah. Our final category is just a load of random stuff, which I couldn't really put into a category. A couple on China. Biden to be sworn in on copy of the Communist Manifesto. Again, this is just very lazy. It's just, he likes the Communist Manifesto, so that's what he's sworn in on. Nothing at all apart from that. And of course, it's not true. Biden is very much not a communist.
I mean, it's weird because they know Bernie exists, and yet they're apparently Biden's the communist.
Yeah, I know. Next article, again, I think this is just a case of them being flat out wrong. Democrats vote to reinstate Trump as president, so impeachment trial is constitutional. Now, here's the thing. The impeachment trial was constitutional, even if Trump wasn't president. So, again, it's just that they're just flat out wrong on this one. They're trying to make fun of the Dems, but, yeah, it backfires, I guess, even though they probably won't care, because, yeah, it was completely constitutional to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty unambiguous. So,
yeah.
Good joke, Babylon Bee.
You'll like this one, though, Michael. Devil requests stimulus to fund widen the road to hell to meet increased demand. And what this article is about is basically a lot of people have been going to hell recently, and the article cites Cuties, the release of that film on Netflix, as a reason why people are going to hell. So yeah, the devil needs more money to build the road to hell. How about that, Michael? You found that funny.
Oh god, I'd forgotten about Cuties, but yeah, actually I'm surprised there wasn't more Cutie stuff in Babylon Bee, because that's the exact kind of train I can imagine them jumping on. And
you know what, there might have been, but I didn't go as far back to August 2020. Yeah. Okay, on to the next article, another side-splitting piece of satire. Biden announces rollback of all jobs created by Trump. Get it?
Well, because he hates jobs.
Because he hates Trump. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
So he's just going to take away all the jobs. Brilliant, wonderful. Where do they get it from?
Yeah, because we've got to remember the Democrats are the ones who just blindly hate the other side. And if there's one thing we've learned from these Babylon Bee articles, they have very calm, rational disagreements with the Democrats.
Yes, absolutely. We got a couple on, I guess, pop culture now. Disney to release new version of Beauty and the Beast, where Belle shames and nags the Beast until he transforms into an effeminate beta male. Again, this goes down the whole conservative path of basically, the Hollywood is controlled by liberals. But here's the problem with that. This didn't happen in the movie. It was basically exactly like the original, wasn't it?
Yeah. I hope they mentioned soy.
Unfortunately, it doesn't, Michael. But I think you're going to like this next one, nevertheless. Hollywood screenwriter unsure how to inject woke politics into movie about a giant monkey punching a giant lizard. And the thing about this, again, it's the same as the last one. The movie is literally just about a giant monkey punching a giant lizard. And the article goes on about, he's unsure about how to write in a scene where a character talks about whiteness. That's the thing, these scenes in these movies, they don't happen. They don't. The most popular movies, Fast and Furious, and even this movie, it's not about social justice stuff. It's literally about action schlock. That's what it's all about. The Marvel movies, are they about social justice? Well, I mean, they've got some black characters in, so maybe...
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's what woke politics is. Woke politics is black people and women.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This movie, it is just a giant monkey punching a giant lizard. That's the irony of these type of articles. Okay, anyway, on to the next one. Following massive success of the war on drugs, Democrats propose the same approach for guns. And here's the thing. Obviously, the war on drugs was a conservative position, so it's good to see that Babylon Bee have recognised how bad that is. But also, guns aren't addictive. Drugs are. And I think that is a key difference, which I'm really surprised the bright minds at the Babylon Bee didn't manage to work out.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is also my favorite type of comedy, just like comparing two things that are different and just being like, it's just like, that's the joke. Oh dear.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a couple more political articles to go through. Controversial Georgia law requires poll workers to check voters for a pulse. Now, this article came after the fact that, of course, what happened in Georgia recently was that the Republicans passed a law saying that, for instance, you're not allowed to bring water to voters who are standing in line at the polls. And you aren't allowed to say vote on Sundays anymore in early voting, because what a lot of black churches did on Sunday in Atlanta was, or across Georgia, was go down to the polls on Sunday from church. So yeah, Republicans have basically banned that. And so the Babylon Bee responds by saying, now you're going to need a pulse to vote. And again, like, this is another case of just conservative satire. It's just completely wrong. Like, no, in fact, what the Georgia Republicans are doing is just completely obscene. It's not at all that voting laws are very, liberal. I guess they're not enforced a lot. It is, in fact, the exact opposite. And this is, again, the fact that you're trying to do satire from a conservative perspective. It doesn't really work, because that perspective is often wrong.
No, yeah, I mean, that's it. I think, like, ultimately one of the problems with kind of comedy, I mean, it comes back to the fact that Stephen Colbert's famous quote is, like, reality has a liberal bias. The reason why somebody like Stephen Colbert is able to be funny, at least more effortlessly than these guys, is because he also has the advantage of mostly being right.
And final article, Michael, on the politics front. Man stands in a long line run by government to vote for government to run his healthcare. Just, again, brilliant satire, because, of course, the people who would run healthcare are the same as the election boards in whatever county the man is standing in. And, of course, it's not like intentionally people, particularly Republicans, can strategically ensure that, lines are longer to dissuade voting. And it's a deliberate act from the government to do that. So, anything to say on that?
Also, I think you can point out many examples of when corporations mismanage things, and you could just turn the joke around. You could be like, man who's upset about corporations, doing this thing, thinks corporations should be allowed to run his healthcare. Like, corporations can be shit, governments can be shit. It's more about systemic issues.
Oh, good. That's good. Some good analysis, Michael. Yeah. Again, I think Babylon Bee might be wrong. A couple more articles just to end, which aren't political, but I wanted to include them anyway. Like this one, reports all international conflicts will now be resolved by a Super Smash Bros. You'd love to see it. And how about this one? Blockage cleared. Ships moving at record speed as Chick-fil-A workers put in charge of Suez Canal. Again, this, I don't know what the target of the satire is, who you're making fun of. It's just basically bigging up Chick-fil-A workers at how amazing they are. Very, very, very good, very good satire there. And finally, just one which is absolutely hilarious. ISIS claims responsibility for Baby Shark.
Wow, these are like mum jokes.
Yeah, these are like
Southern mum
memes.
jokes.
Yeah, Facebook stuff. But this is the pinnacle of satire, Michael. This is, conservatives are getting funnier. And it's making the libs more nervous. But there you go. There's all the articles. I hope you've all got a broad sense of what the Babylon Bee is. And anything to say to sum up, Michael?
Babylon Bee, more like Babylon Be More Funny.
That's a good one, Michael, I have to say. But no, I think, look, if your main target is pushing propaganda, you're less likely to focus on obviously making things funny if your first priority is right-wing talking points. I mean, look, it's the same problem with SNL. They try to force stuff when it comes to their politics, and then they miss opportunities to satirize because of their ideological beliefs. And, conservatives, I think, are actually probably more wild and stupid than liberals in America, at least, and say crazier things. I think, therefore, it's easier for the libs to lampoon conservatives. For the Babylon Bee, they really have to stretch and exaggerate things and sometimes just make stuff up. For example, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a conservative politician in the United States Congress who is crazy, as you can see by her workout video playing over this audio. She is just weird in every aspect of her life. And so therefore, it's quite easy for the libs to lampoon her or to make fun of conservatives, if that's what a conservative politician actually is.
But by contrast, Luke, AOC cares about poor people. And isn't that kind of funny?
That is kind of funny.
Learn economics, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, and finally, Michael, I'll just say, again, I mentioned it several times while going through the articles, I think the biggest problem with conservatives is often like they're just wrong about the world. For example, the COVID thing, where they made fun of people wearing masks and, oh, it's going to be impending doom. Like 500,000 people died. Oh, the Georgia thing, oh, why are you so upset with these voting measures? Well, they're literally criminalising handing water to people who are standing in line to vote. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So yeah, if you are trying to be funny, but your whole worldview is wrong, it can come across like propaganda. And so yeah, I think that's the biggest issue with the Babylon Bee. And also, as we have hopefully shown you, they are quite lazy. So yeah, overall I'd say, Michael, conservatives, I don't know if they can be funny, but the Babylon Bee definitely is not.
Yep, that's why I watch SNL instead.